In this final wrap-up module, we'll consider permissions as a whole and look at considerations and caveats. The universe is your Jira site. Most permissions are in some way interdependent, and as soon as you have a more heavily used Jira site with an increasing number of users, you'll find that this is increasingly the case. Consider all the interrelated schemes just to make sure that a user can access, for example, the Set Issues security field. Permissions are key configurations in Jira. As a result, most permission-related configurations are interdependent, so take care when you update any permission setting, especially when you are in a company-managed project context. And keep your configurations as simple as possible. As an example, try to avoid burying permissions in workflows by using status properties. Use project permissions before using status properties. If you do use status properties, you must document this well and make sure the whole administration team understand what is configured and where. Here are several examples of the things you need to consider. Workflow settings can impact users' interactions, issues, and functionality. Consider the ability to transition an issue. This is managed by conditions in workflows in company-managed projects and project permissions. Consider global permissions. If a user cannot mention another user, it could be the global permission of browse users and groups, or the culprit could be that the mentioned user might not have browse project's permission for the issue we are accessing at that time. Product access is an important consideration too. If a user needs to access issues in a software project, they can if they have the browse project's project permission. They will not be able to interact with any software-related functionality, though, like Agile reports, boards, or development panels. If a user has the global permission to create team-managed projects, but they do not have Jira software product access, they won't be able to create projects. And of course, there are interrelated project permissions. The biggest one there would be the requirement for the browse project's permission, as a prerequisite for the ability to interact with an issue. Then if you move issues into a company-managed project, you must have the create issues permission in the destination project. And then there's the further considerations and review necessary when permission schemes are shared across projects. There are always approaches to mitigate problems. Set up a test project and use it to test out new changes. You can also schedule routine audits of the various configuration elements and document everything well. Of course, keep configurations as simple as possible and plan your configurations for the long term rather than the short term. And importantly, don't just make a change because a user asks you to. Make sure that it makes sense, has stakeholders sign off, and there's a properly understood requirement in place. And finally, limit project, application, site, and organization administrative access only to those individuals who understand these configuration elements very well. The best implementation is robust. As an example, this means it should not include individual users in dedicated schemes. Users come and go or go on vacation. Don't let your configurations depend on single users. It should be future-proof. You don't want to have to update your implementation every time a new person comes on board. It should be scalable. Project roles scale easily, while using groups and schemes will mean more maintenance. Most importantly, using project roles helps prevent unwanted side effects on other projects. It should be transparent. Find one implementation for permissions and share it. As an example, do so between all development projects. Developers often work in cross-functional teams and projects. If all projects are configured similarly, this will result in less friction for both team members in their use of Jira and the Jira administrator. Finally, it should be manageable. Try to be as generic as possible. Adding a new role to grant read-only access is better than maintaining 50 individual permission schemes. Manage your users' access to Jira content and functionality with care. Make sure that you plan for mass adoption. Do not grant high-level administration to too many users. There are several levels of permissions. Make sure that you give the right users the correct permissions. Manage products carefully to avoid giving too many users product access. Permissions can be interrelated, and one change might impact other configurations. Make changes carefully. Test before putting live, for example by logging in as a test user to test your configuration changes. We hope you enjoyed this Skill Builder training and learned useful things that will help you in your daily job as Jira administrator. For further information, visit our online resources including Atlassian University, Atlassian Community and Atlassian's product documentation. For more in-depth help, contact Atlassian support or locate one of the Atlassian solution partners near you. Congratulations on completing this Skill Builder course.